Good morning. Welcome to the Health and Wellness Program. You're listening to Maree Gifkins. So, have you heard of that saying, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Well, I have that on my sign. I have a big yellow sign and it says sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's okay if we're sick and we're tired for about a week. We can, get over that and life starts again. But what happens if you're sick and tired for a whole month? That takes a bit of energy to get over that one. But then what if that carries on? You may even know people who have been sick and tired for 6 months or even a year. I've met people that are sick and tired and have been sick and tired for like 15 years, where they just find it hard to get life back on track again. For whatever reasons, and usually there's a combination, it's never just one thing. But imagine being stuck in that. Not very nice. Not a nice experience. You might be low and you have a year where it's hard to get back on track and get things balanced, and for various things. It can be lots of things going on. It could be you just don't like your job, your work, you just don't want to be there. But you have to be there because there isn't another job, or you've got a mortgage and it has to be paid. And so 5 days a week you've got to get up, drag yourself out of bed and get to work and function and look as if you're normal. And you just don't like being there. So imagine how that affects your nervous system. And then, of course, the nervous system can then affect the immune system, and the immune system is becoming low and not functioning as it should be. Everything's slowing down a bit, and then we're exposed to a bug or a virus or bacteria or infection, and then we pick up something, and then it's really hard to shake it off. And you might go into the health shop and get some vitamin C, good old vitamin C, and some maybe echinacea or whatever they're suggesting, and slowly it comes back on track and you get back to work, but you don't like your job, and so it just all starts again. Or you've just picked up a bug. You love your job is great, it's the best thing you've ever done, you did all your studies, you got the job you wanted, the pay is pretty good, your life is moving along, and all of a sudden you get a sickness or a disease or something happens, and you go down and you never completely come back up. You're always below that line, that energy level where just not quite ever there. You're always like chasing your tail. What do? Put up with it for a while, then it starts to get worse again, and then you just really got no energy, and then you wonder whether you should be at work even. Maybe I need to stop work for 3 months and have a break, and hopefully I come right and I'm back at work again. So there's lots of different variations of that, being sick and tired. I could even give you one from my husband. He had been in a job for 18 years and, working in the prison as a case manager. And 18 years in a prison, you can't tell me that doesn't affect your nervous system. And so he would, there's a lot of work that goes involved when you're working in the prison. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of, you've got to react fast, a lot of stuff. And so he was getting quite exhausted and not enjoying his job. He enjoyed most of it, but there was just so much work to do. You couldn't get through it all in one day, and you're always chasing your tail. And he started to get sick. And then it was hard to throw off that infection. And then he was like using up all his sick days. And then it was like starting to go into his pay and being docked on his pay. And just then it would be like a week after week he's still sick and he can't come right. And then not knowing what's going on. You got to get certificates from the doctor to get the sick pay, so forth, so they'd do blood tests and they'd do x-ray of the lungs and they'd do a couple of scans, I think, and nothing ever shows up. That makes you feel good, doesn't it? If something shows up, at least you know what to blame. But when nothing's showing up and they kind of look at you and go, maybe this is all in your head, or they give you that impression you know, or maybe you need to be on antidepressants. How many times have you heard that one, you know? You're depressed. No, I'm only depressed because I'm tired and I can't seem to get right and I can't get back to work. I'm not depressed though, you know, but they want to put you on antidepressants because they don't have the answers, whether it's not showing in the blood or the x-rays or other scans, tests, so forth. So it can be quite a minefield out there. I'm getting back, I might as well finish the story with my husband and make sure that you know that there's a happy ending, you know, things just take time. But there is a happy ending. Nothing ever stays the same. Everything changes, nothing stays the same. So if you're down and out and you're not happy and you don't know what's going on, you're confused, just remember everything changes, nothing stays the same. Especially when you're prepared to change. You're prepared to look at things. So he was getting worse, his immune system was getting down, and I never caught the bugs, you know, I never caught whatever he was getting, or he'd have achy joints, and we're talking about a runner. This is a person that could run for 4 hours, so his health was usually pretty good, and then when he'd go down, all his joints could just ache, and he would walk around like an 80-year-old man, and or he'd get migraine, or he'd get fever, or he'd start vomiting, and yet I never caught the bug. I mean, who just vomits when you haven't got a bug? So there's got to be something seriously wrong, and like I said, nothing shows in any of their tests. So in the end, it was just getting beyond a joke. It was getting extremely, I was getting anxious for him, because he wasn't earning enough and we still had the mortgage, and I was trying to care for him and look after him and get him right so he could get back to work, and it was like, we're just going round and round in circles, and that's what happens sometimes in life. You end up chasing your tail in this silly little circle and you don't know what to do to get out of it. And so I just went, no, enough is enough, and I said, I'm making an executive decision here, and I said, you're having 6 months off work, leave without pay, whatever it has to be. You have to have 6 months off. And I rang the bank and checked to see if we could get a hold on the mortgage for 6 months, or just pay bare minimum, whatever. And then we'd be able to survive. So I had to do the calculations and make sure we could survive on one income. You do have to be able to do that. So I worked that out. Yes, we could survive. It'll be a bit hard, but you know, our health is really important. Who are you without your health? You're pretty miserable, and nobody, you know, you can't do much and you can't plan for anything. So I told him, you're having 6 months off work, and I need you to stay home and just look after yourself. And you can do the housework, you can do the cleaning, you can hang the washing on the line, have the meals, so when I come home, you know, meals are ready to go. But you need time out to just reconnect with yourself. Wow, you should have seen the relief on his face. Oh yeah, I don't have to go to work tomorrow. And so this was arranged, and he had 6 months off work. And it took that long for everything to sort of come back, and because there was things that happened in those 18 years that he had squashed down, that he'd suppressed, that he had, you know, oh, I'm a man, I've got to get on with this stuff, I can't dwell on, I've experienced this, you know, or that, or you can imagine what happens in prisons. And so a lot of things started to come up, and of course he was able to have that time to actually give them their space and release and let go, release and let go. I went to counselling and a few other bits and pieces, and he did another lovely technique, which actually I should get her in and she can talk about that. Good idea, Maree. I'll get this lady in. And anyway, so he started to come right, and his energies were picking up. He wasn't getting sick anymore. And I said to him, okay, the 6 months is coming up to the end of that closure. Do you want to go back to work? And he goes, no, I can't go back there. I've done my dash. I said, okay, fair enough. What do you want to do? He goes, oh, I want to go painting houses. It's like, okay, okay, what's your qualifications? He goes, oh, I used to manage a paint shop. I used to paint roofs on the weekends. So I said, okay, you paint our house, get to the end of that, and if you're still happy, go for it, you know. So now my husband is a painter, decorator, and DIY. So if you need his number, give me a ring and I'll give it to you. There's a bit of advertising for you, Glenn. And so he's as happy as anything. He's had his first year in business. Mind you, it was a pretty hard year to start with COVID. But he's stuck it in and he's doing really well, and he's all booked out now till winter, I think. And he's like, why didn't I do this years ago? And it's like, oh. So he's a happy lad now, and he hardly ever gets sick, and he's just motoring through things. So sometimes we have to stop and actually take track of things and just actually examine where we're at and let things up and let them go. You can't just keep squashing and squashing, you know. You become like a volcano, and then all of a sudden you explode, and sometimes you explode with the wrong person, and they didn't really deserve that anger that you're spitting out at them. So you have to be really careful not to just keep pushing down and pushing down, okay, because what goes down has to come back up eventually. So so sometimes you can get quite sick and you don't know where to go and what to do and how to go about it. And you know, you may have been to 4 doctors, 5 doctors, and nobody knows what's going on. Maybe you've been to 10 doctors. Maybe you've been to specialists from all around the place, and different specialists. You know, they'll send you to a cardiologist, and they'll send you to a nerve specialist, and they'll send you to orthopedic specialist, and they'll send you to, oh no, go here, and each time you're on the waiting list again. And then by the time you get in, and nobody has any real answers for you. So if you're one of those persons, you know, come and see me, come and have a chat. I've been doing this for 26 years now, and you get to learn lots of different things. And I have been studying pathogens, viruses, bacteria in the last 4 years, well before COVID. So you get to learn a lot of things, and maybe I can point you in the right direction. If I can't help you, I might be able to point you in the right direction. So I have lots of tools in my toolbox. I guess that's what I'm trying to tell you, is, you know, I usually get the worst people that have been not happy for a long time. And so there's lots of tools in my toolbox. You know, I even do a therapy called Chi Na Sang, which is abdominal massage, and I had to go to Thailand to learn that and get my certificate and so forth. And that's a very nice treatment. So it just depends what's happening and where your body's failing or where it's going wrong. You know, I'll generally ask you lots of questions and spend more than 10 minutes with you. How can you diagnose anybody in 10 minutes? Especially when you've been sick for a long time. Not that I'm diagnosing. I'm not allowed to diagnose. I'm not a doctor. I am a natural therapist, but I do care. And so if you're wanting to ring me, my number is 0272 495090. So sometimes we can get sick with viruses. They can enter our body and we're sick for a week or a couple of weeks or a month, and then we come right and we think that's the end of it. But quite often with these viruses, they can just lie dormant in the body, and they're well known to lie even in the spinal column, and then something triggers them. So malnourishment, it could be loss of a loved one, loss of a job, any kind of stress or hormone changes. That's quite often women have quite often more severe problems than men, because we have the hormone fluctuations. We have teenage fluctuations with the hormones when they start getting activated. We can have pregnancies. Then we can have menopause. Aren't we lucky? So we have quite a lot of hormone fluctuations going on right through our whole life. And viruses can feed off hormones. And if there's a lot of hormones racing around in your body, it's got a lot of food there for a while. So they can, and if you happen to have loss of a loved one, or you're caring for somebody and it's very stressful, or you're going through job changes or selling your house, getting a new house, anything like that, it puts a lot of stress. And so you've also got a lot of adrenaline going on. And viruses love adrenaline as well. And so all of a sudden you start to get unwell and you don't know what's going on, and you haven't got the full-on fevers and glands up and achy and you're just collapsing in bed. You can kind of function, but you know you're not right. Your energy's not all there. Maybe you're a bit queasy at times. Maybe a joint is aching and then it moves to another area, or it moves around. You know, there's lots of different ways. Sometimes you get a headache and then it goes away. And then you might have a sore neck and you're like, no, that goes away, that's okay. And then it might come back again and you didn't think you did anything. So there's lots of variations, and viruses can do lots of nasty little things. Not just the COVID one, where I'm talking about all the other ones. I haven't even got on to COVID, have I? And so I guess actually with the COVID, they call it the long haulers, you know, and so we have all these other viruses that have been around for a while, and so you can start to see that you have periods of time where you're well and then you're not well, and then you're okay and then you're not well again. So there's lots of variations and things that can happen. You can have even random pins and needles going down one arm or in a leg, or you can get burning sensations. And they might come and go for a while, and then all of a sudden they're there all the time. You know, I had a gentleman who had burning on his feet for 15 years, and it was day and night, every day, no break from it, and his feet would just burn. And it was interesting because they weren't burning to touch, they were burning on the inside. And so he ended up retiring earlier than he should have been. He didn't want to go places. He wanted to park the car to where exactly the shop he was going into and back out again. And tossing and turning at night time, trying to find a cool part of the bed and the sheets to cool the feet down, or walking on the lino, or putting your feet in cold water, just trying to get breaks. So not really sleeping that well for 15 years, disturbing his wife for 15 years, you know, it doesn't go down well. And nothing shows up in the blood, and the doctors say, oh, I don't know, you're just getting older, you've got to expect these things. In other words, they don't know, let's put it back onto you. And so he came in, he had heard about me, and he came in, and I looked at his feet, and because I specialise in the bone structure of the feet, I could see instantly that his feet weren't deformed, there wasn't any bones out of place, they looked really good feet for his age. You know, normally we get one foot that's different to the other foot, and, you know, we stub our toes, and you can get toes that are a bit bent or crooked, or arches that have fallen, and his feet look pretty good actually. And I said, look, I don't think there's a structural problem, I think it's a blood problem, I think it's on the inside. And so I gave him 2 essential oils to use, one called Hope and the other one called Calm. And you can get these from me, because I'm special and I make them up. And so he put them on his feet twice a day. And I said to him also, I said, just have a break from dairy and eggs. So no butter, no cheese, no yogurt, no ice cream, and eggs. Stay away from them, and I'll see you at the end of the week, so 4 days later. So he comes in, and I looked at him, and he says, oh my gosh. And of course, straight away, I didn't know if that was a good oh my gosh or a bad oh my gosh. So he sat down and he says, I've had 2 perfect sleeps. And I looked at him, I said, that's fantastic. So your feet are feeling a lot better. And he goes, the burning's gone. And I said, that's just amazing. I didn't expect it to be gone that fast. Okay, I thought it might take 2 weeks, seen it had been there for 15 years. And he just looked at me and he says, how can this be? How can you just give me some oils, tweak my diet a little bit, and something I've had for 15 years can just go this fast? And he goes, but I've got bowls on this weekend, that'll give them a good testing. And I said, all right, I'll see you on Monday. Comes back Monday, no burning. He was a very happy lad. And even when I saw him 3 months later, it still hadn't come back. Not even for 1 day. So, you know, sometimes you get the right thing, you do the right thing, and everything can change. Everything changes, nothing stays the same. So he was a very happy lad. So, I mean, I can't tell you what was wrong, I can't diagnose it, but to me that was it was one of the viruses, and probably the hepatic family viruses. So I've seen lots of wonderful things happen, you know. Even probably the worst one for most people is the ones that I've seen. Probably had about 4 cases where they're actually itchy under the skin. Now, you know when you get a scratch and you itch it and you feel satisfied, can you imagine it under the skin that you can't actually itch and get to? And then you scratch again and you scratch again and you scratch again, and it just doesn't relieve that itch. Drives you nuts. So this happens with people. I've had maybe 4 people in 26 years, so it's not common, but it's becoming more common. In fact, I had one last week, and I just happened to say to her, "You're not getting itching under the skin, are you?" "Oh," she says, you know, because she'd told me all the joints and things that are going on, and it was, I guess the little voice said to me, "Check to see if there's any itching under the skin." And she had it on both legs, and it had been coming and going for about 6 months, and just getting more intense and more intense. And I just looked at her and I said, "Oh, this is maddening, this kind of thing." You're not kidding. So again, that's in the hepatic family of the viruses. So I'm not diagnosing which one. I'm just saying general. Can't get into trouble, can I? And so she's on a mission now she's getting the dairy out of her diet and the cheese, and we've got her on the hope oil and the calm oil, and she's starting to improve. She's starting to get better now. So with hers, it's just taking, I mean, we're still only talking about weeks. She had other things that had been going on for about 8 years. So sometimes it will take a little bit longer, sometimes it'll be shorter. But you normally know within about 4 or 5 days whether I'm onto the right thing or not. So it's not always about the hope oil or the calm oil. There's other ways of healing people as well, and other situations. Like my husband, he just had to change his job. And sometimes it's emotional. There's emotional stuff there that you're holding on to, whether something's happened to you or whether something's happened in the family, and you're holding on to things that actually they normally don't serve you anymore, and it's time to let go. So I do a therapy or a healing called Orion Healing, and this one's working with the soul and spirit of the person, and this one's very much like unknotting your life. We can get into knots sometimes, and we just don't know what to do to unknot ourselves. And so the Orion Healing, as I said, is working on the soul and spirit of the person, and it's an hour and a half, and it's $120. And so the first thing that I do is soul fragment work. So sometimes we can leave parts of ourselves behind, like if someone passes on or dies and we're finding it hard to move on, we can leave a part of ourselves behind, and that's pulled and cleansed in God's light and returned to you, so you're whole and complete. Or it could be bad relationships, and you separate and you can't get yourself together again, you can't seem to move on, or you don't know how to let go. Sometimes we can leave a part of ourselves behind. Or it could be school days where we had bad teachers or bullies, and it impacted there. Or even pets. We know we lose pets and we just miss them all the time. So that's the first thing I do, is make sure that you're whole and complete. And then I scan your system, and see if there's any psychic hooks in you. And that can be from people who are angry of you, jealous of you, envious of you. If they have enough of those thought forms, it can create what we call hooks. So if I see something, I tell you, and it's your choice what you want done with it. You can keep it, you can ditch it, you can ask more questions. I check also to make sure there's no psychic attacks, which is the more nastier stuff. If there's nothing, I just move to the next thing. Then I check to make sure there's nothing attached to you that shouldn't be there in the way of entities, wayward spirits or creatures. Again, if I see anything, I tell you, and it's your choice what you want done with it. You can keep it, you can ditch it, you can ask more questions. Okay, so you have a free will. Just because I see something, it doesn't mean I should remove it. I need your permission to change this or heal this or alter this. Okay, and then I check to make sure there's no curses, oaths or vows around you. When I've done all this basic list, then I know that I'm dealing with you and not any hangers-on that could be influencing your directional path. And then we can do whatever it is that you've come for if I haven't already addressed it in those areas. So the Orion healing is wonderful for unknotting, and you never see two people the same. Everyone is different. We've all got there in different ways, whether it's something we've experienced in this lifetime or something that's happened in a past life or a gene pool. We just have all different combinations to everybody else. So it's always quite interesting and very healing, and lots of miracles happen. And so if you're wanting to get hold of me, so I have a clinic in Hastings 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and I have a clinic in Waipakarau Monday and Friday. And if you're wanting to get hold of me, my number is 0272 495090, and my webpage is footbliss.co.nz. Thank you for listening.